Okay, if everyone's ready, we're ready to go.
Okay. Are we live?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Time is 5:33. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you proceed with the roll call, please?
Mayor Gore,
Here.
Vice Mayor Bennett,
Here.
Counselor Randolph,
Here.
Counselor Holloway,
Here.
Counselor Parton,
Here.
Counselor Denton,
Here.
Counselor Pelham.
Thank you. Counselor Pelham did let me know that she was going to be delayed this evening, and she'll be joining us whenever she's available. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Mayor Gore, before we go into closed session, I asked the city attorney the proper way to disclose my conflict of interest, and she recommended to do it before the motion. Is that all right with you to go ahead and declare it?
That's fine. Thank you.
All right. This evening, I will not be participating in the closed session, nor will I be participating in the appointment process, the interview process, selection, or vote for the school board appointments. My sister, Allison Parton, is a candidate for that position. Therefore, I have a potential conflict of interest, and therefore I plan on recusing myself from the entire process. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I've filed the conflict of interest form with the city clerk.
Okay, so would you like to be officially excused from the closed session on the record?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll dial back in at 7:30.
Okay, perfect. And Ms. Brown, can you annotate that Mr. Counselor Parton has been excused for the closed session? He'll join back up with us at 7:30, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Counselor Parton.
No problem.
Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I make a motion that we move to go into closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1 to discuss and consider personnel matters, including the appointment, assignment, and performance of specific appointees and employment and consideration, discussion of prospective candidates for employment and appointment. A3 and A6 to discuss the investment of public funds for the acquisition of real property for a public purpose where bargaining is involved and discussion is open meeting would adversely affect the citizens' bargaining position and financial interest. A4 for the protection of the privacy. Sorry, trying to read this off my phone. Individuals and personnel matters and not related to public business.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Holloway. The motion's been moved by Counselor Randolph, seconded by Counselor Holloway. Discussion. Mr. Altman.
I noticed that, and I would have to defer to the attorney, is there a need to mention the discussion of the city school board appointments as part of A1?
Mayor Gore, may I respond?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead. Thank you.
That was a part of the amended motion that was sent this afternoon. It certainly would more closely conform with a recent decision, but in view of our past practice, it is sufficient for tonight's purposes.
Counselor Randolph and Counselor Holloway, are you both fine with inserting, specifically mentioning the school board, so it's clear for the record and aligns with the advice given?
I'm fine.
Yes.
Counselor Holloway? Okay. Madam Clerk, can you please annotate that for the record and in the motion that we'll be voting on? Thank you, Mr. Altman. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Gore,
No.
Counselor Denton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph,
Yes.
Counselor Holloway,
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. We're going to go into closed session to begin the interviews for the school board as well as address other items. Madam Clerk, I will send you a message when it's time to send in the first person for the interviews, and I'll do that each time so that way you can notify them to join in on the line. For the school board applicants that are listening, please do not dial into the closed session before you have been contacted by the clerk. Mr. Altman, when we get to the point where we can discuss the items submitted by staff, I will let you and Ms. Robinson know to join us. Is everyone clear on the instructions, or does anyone need any other information?
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes.
So how are we going to be notified, by email or a phone call?
I'll message you. I'm sorry. I'll message you on your phone so you can get quicker, or I can, however way you prefer.
A text message is fine. Thank you.
I'll text all of you.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions for clarity? Okay, everyone out, IT will put up the standing page for the public. I will drop off of this so I can start our closed session meeting. Thank you very much.
Hello, Ms. Hyatt. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you turn that down a little bit for me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. The council members are in closed session. And so regular meeting will begin.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's,
So council members are in closed session and they will return at 7:30.
Okay,
So if you want to hang out on the line, you're more than welcome to. If not, you can log out and come back, log back in around 7:15.
I just stay on it because I don't, computers, so
Okay,
I can watch it from another screen, I guess. What's the
Okay.
station?
well, I'm gonna put everybody on mute,
Okay.
okay? Hello, Elliot. How are you today? This is Consultant IT. Can you unmute yourself so I can make sure I can hear you?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see.
There we go. Okay, now I'm unmuted.
Okay, good. We still have about 30 minutes and we are live. So I'm going to put everybody on mute just so we're not streaming our conversations.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, but as others come online, I'll make sure that they're here and that we can hear you. And once council returns, the regular meeting will begin, okay?
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Hello, Mrs. Hyatt. How are you?
Hi, how you doing? I'm good, thanks.
Thank you for
Staying
joining.
safe?
Yes, trying.
Okay, we all are.
All right, I'll see you in a little while.
Okay,
I'll hear
thank
you
you.
in a little while.
Thank you.
My mic is on. IT, my mic is on, but I can't hear you.
I can hear you. Is this Miss Vanderkill?
Yep, that's me. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it on so I can hear you. Okay, fine. Thank you for answering.
Well, we're streaming live, and so I'm going to mute everyone's mic just to keep the conversation as a minimum, okay?
Okay, can I just ask you a question before you do that? How come it's showing live on YouTube instead of Zoom?
It is showing live on YouTube. We're streaming from Zoom to YouTube.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll turn it off.
Hello, Tavia. Can you unmute your mic so I can make sure that we can hear you?
Yes, hey, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good.
Hello, everyone.
The last time I was on here, Concetta, my mic was messing up, so I'm probably gonna also call in, because that's what I ended up having to do under I think it was the Mayor Gore's board meeting.
Okay. Are you speaking through the computer at the moment?
Yes.
You're using the computer mic?
Yes.
Do you want to go ahead and connect by phone now?
Yeah, I'll do that. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
Do we have everyone, Tavia, or are we missing someone?
You're missing Farrah Jenkins.
Hello. Can't hear you, Concetta. You're muted.
Okay, Tavia, is that you at 9203?
Yeah. Should I choose the computer?
Yeah, you're going to have to mute your computer.
Okay.
Okay. there is still, okay, the echo is gone.
Okay,
All right, good.
perfect. Okay. Are you sure the echo's gone? Because it still sounds like it's there. I can't hear you though.
Are you watching this on YouTube?
No, I did Zoom.
You did Zoom.
Yes.
Okay, turn the volume off on your computer.
Okay. All right, done.
Okay, it's better now. We have another person that's joining us, Mark. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Hey there, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, good.
I don't know if y'all can see me or not, but I am here. Hopefully you can hear me at least.
We can hear you.
Good.
So we are waiting on a few other people to join us.
There is another guy. His name is Rizik Hamill. He will be joining you, and he's a applicant for Executive Motors. And I think you're also going to have one more Planning Commission member. Her name is Farrah Jenkins, and those should be the only two from our camp anyway.
Okay. So at 7:18, council members should be coming out of closed session here pretty soon. We'll watch out for the other two individuals, but meanwhile, I will place everyone on mute.
Are y'all still in closed session? Hello? Are y'all still in closed session? Who is that? Hello, who is that? You in closed session, Elliot? I can't hear you. Take yourself off mute.
Hey, Ms. Pelham, it's Consetta IT.
This is closed session or regular session?
This is regular meeting. We're waiting on closed session to end.
So they still in there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I can go back out and, what you doing in that, Mr. Elliott? What you doing a presentation? Oh, you can't hear. Okay.
They're all on mute. We're streaming live, Miss Pelham.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Okay.
All right, you missed the party, Mr. Elliott. Call my pop and say happy birthday though. All right. I'm gonna see if they're gonna be late. See ya.
Hello, Dr. Maker. Are you able to hear me and see me?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Thank you so much. Council should be coming out of our closed session now.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Okay, I had a drop call, so I just dialed back in.
Dr. Maker, can you switch it so I can put the agenda up, please?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Let me see how many people are we waiting on. Is everyone here for the most part?
So, Madam Mayor, before you begin, we have guests here from online from the Planning Commission. You also have 3 attendees. Those attendees are also guests. Just please make sure that you check over to the attendee side to unmute their mics if they have something to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you. Give me one more moment and then I will be ready to go. I have to get one other item up. Okay, Dr. Maker, I'm ready to go whenever you are.
We're streaming live.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone joining us for the City Council regular meeting. Time is 7:52. We need to come out of our closed session. Is there a motion to come out of closed session?
I make a motion to come out of closed session.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Councilor Randolph. It's been seconded by Councilor Denton. Discussion? None. Mr. Altman, I did talk to council about the 2 items we discussed. Can you please add those to the upcoming budget work session? And then for the city clerk advertisement, please relay to Ms. Sears that we would like to advertise the same way we did last year in terms of the salary expectations.
Okay, so we'll add those 2 items as closed, and I'll communicate with Ms. Sears, and we'll get the ad out for her council. Thank you.
Very much.
Y'all worked out.
So roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Counselor Parton, Mayor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Denton,
Here.
Counselor Pelham,
I'm here, I'm sorry.
Council, just to be clear, the motion on the floor is to come out of closed session, not your attendance.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Vice Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph,
Yes.
Counselor Holloway.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, can you proceed with the certification of a vote, please?
Certification pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3712D, where only public business matters, 1, lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements, and 2, identified in the closed meeting motion discussed in closed meeting. Counselor Parton, Mayor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Denton,
Yes.
Counselor Pelham,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph,
Yes.
Counselor Holloway.
Yes.
Thank you. And just for the record, because Counselor Parton's name was mentioned, he was excused from the closed session discussion. So for the public watching, he didn't respond because he was excused. And that'll be noted in the record for his conflict of interest. Moving on, we like to call our regular meeting to order. The time is now 7:55. Want to welcome all of our visitors that we have watching us on our city's YouTube page and also on Council Live. And then we also have some guests on the line with us this evening in the Zoom software. Just for everyone's knowledge, just want to go over some housekeeping rules on your participant tab. If you hover over the Zoom software, you will see a drop-down bar that has the option to click participants. It's a little icon, it looks like people. That lets you know who is in the meeting, and on there you will have the option to raise your hand. It should be at the bottom right-hand corner. Raise your hand, click the button if you have something to say, unless it's a point of order or something that requires immediate attention of the chair to be directed to the city attorney. I will call on you in the order that I see them. At any point in time I overlook your hand by accident, please just message in the chat. Please don't blurt out. I am not trying to do it on purpose. I'm keeping eye of the chat as well. And I will call on you. So, and after you speak, please remember to lower your hand so that way I don't get confused as to know if you meant to have another comment or not. Is everyone clear? Does everyone see a raise hand option on the screen for you? Or I should say, is anyone not clear on that?
Yeah, I'm clear. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
There you are.
Okay, without further ado, we're going to move on to our regular meeting. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk, for attendance.
Mayor Gore,
Here.
Vice Mayor Bennett,
Here.
Counselor Randolph,
Here.
Counselor Holloway,
Here.
Counselor Parton,
Here.
Counselor Denton,
Here.
Counselor Pelham.
Here.
Thank you so much. I'd like to welcome our visitors again, and we'll have the prayer by Mr. Bragg, Director of Intergovernmental and Public Affairs, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, led by Counselor Parton. Mr. Bragg.
Hello. Can you unmute me?
I actually don't have, you're unmuted, Mr. Bragg. We can hear you. I don't have anyone muted
Okay.
at this time.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let us pray. Father, I thank you for this opportunity to declare your word once again before your people. Lord, according to your word as stated in the scriptures, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. Therefore, I pray today, seeking your divine help and intervention in this great time of need. Lord, I pray for the sick, the infected, and the bereaved. Lord, heal and help them to endure and overcome. Lord, I pray for containment of COVID-19 and all other viruses affecting your people. Lord, protect our elderly and those suffering from chronic diseases, to include the poor and our youth. Lord, grant this city council wisdom and a spirit of discernment as they take up this agenda. Lord, I pray for our scientific and medical community, leading the charge to find a cure to stabilize and eradicate this deadly virus. Lord, I pray for this city and this nation, even in the midst of a national crisis. Lord, I pray for a renewed sense of understanding. I pray for justice, fairness, equality, reconciliation, and peaceful protest and resolve. Lord, I pray for our business owners and pastors and church leaders faced with the challenges of social distancing. Lord, help them to be creative and innovative in finding ways to be effective in operating businesses and ministering to congregants. Lord, I pray for your continued grace and mercy upon this city as leaders focus on the different phases of reopening city government. Lord, may your Holy Spirit inspire us all to pray more, to give more, to serve more, to love more, and to proclaim your word. Lord, I pray that your will be done. In your most gracious and holy name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Counselor Parton, the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Counselor Parton. Council is going to move on to amending or adopting the regular meeting agenda. I will advise council to see if I can get some support to do a few items with this agenda tonight. Number one, the resolution extending the due date for the payment of real estate taxes was omitted from this agenda packet. In order for council to provide this type of relief to residents and business owners, we would need to adopt a ordinance. The city attorney did work to get one out to council, and I do have it. I could put on the screen. I would like to add that to our agenda tonight so we can get that taken care of for the public. And I would like to add it as R1 and push the other items down.
I would make that.
The second, oh, okay. The second item for consideration before council, and speaking with the city manager this evening and also the city attorney, I don't think it was, we don't think it was probably the best approach to put this onto a closed session. So I'd like to ask council to either add discussing possibly contacting the Attorney General's office to ask for them to assist in expediting the case that we have before Mr. Newman's office as our current Commonwealth attorney in regards to Mr. Carlo. This letter will be in support to try to ask for their assistance to expedite the investigation. As many of you know, it's going on for about 16 months. I don't want to speak for Mr. Altman, but if I'm incorrect, please say something. We're both in agreement and support that we need to probably do something to try to expedite this so we can close this matter on behalf of the city. Am I wrong, Mr. Altman?
No, ma'am. We both agree, and I think all of us know that there needs to be closure to this issue for all parties involved, particularly the Carlo family, and would be fully supportive of having a letter sent to the Attorney General's office to see if they can assist with getting the special prosecutor to somehow wrap up the investigation so we can move forward with resolve of this issue.
Thank you. And the last item I would like to see if we can add to the agenda is bringing back the council recap. That was something that was requested last year and council supported it, but there was some issues with getting that pushed out through the clerk's office. The reason why I'm asking is many of you know there was some confusion regarding what action council took regarding the mills and other fees and deadlines extensions for the public. I think that it's best, again, to have an official count of what council did, provided to the public. We kind of adopted something similar that the city attorney had advised and give us recommendations from other localities. And essentially it is after 48 hours, city council will be given an official recap of all of our legislative items so we can provide that to the public, and that will be drafted by the clerk's office. So if there's support, I would like to add all 3 items to the agenda this evening for discussion and for action of council.
So move.
Second. And is there discussion? I'm checking for hand signals, please. And to make those R1, 2, and 3 respectively. Councilor Randolph.
Are we going to discuss each of these separately on R1 and 2 and 3?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just as long as we do that, I'm fine.
Okay. And that will make R1 and 2 on our current agenda R4 and 5. Any other questions at this time? I am looking at the participant log for hand signals. Council members, council members joining us by phone. Is there any questions?
Do we need to add to the agenda the discussion about the economic relief?
That was a part of the ordinance that I mentioned. The draft was supposed to cover what council's intentions are, and we need to get clarity of that tonight. So I think that could be addressed through that discussion or asking for something different. But yes, the intention was to address all COVID-19 economic relief for business and residents during that time.
Okay, that's fine.
And I actually have, I'm sorry, one other addition. I'm so sorry, bro, that was left off the agenda. COVID-19, the community support to follow up on the testing, to see where we are with that. I did talk to Mr. Altman about that this evening. Councilor Plum, do you have any objections to that?
No.
Okay. Vice Mayor Bennett, you have your hand raised.
Can you repeat what you wanted to add to the agenda?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. I'm writing it down. So the motion is to make R1 the resolution extending the due date for the payment of real estate taxes, and to include the other economic support for COVID-19. R2 would be seeking support from City Council for the mayor and city manager to write the Commonwealth Attorney of Virginia in regards to the DiCarlo case. R3 would be for council to reinstate the legislative recaps at the end of each council meeting. And R4, which I just added out of oversight, to add the COVID-19 community discussion so we can get an update regarding local testing.
Okay, so I don't mind doing that, but I think the issue with Colonial Corner needs to be addressed first tonight. I wouldn't mind everything else falling under the R1. So
Okay.
I would like to keep R1 where it stands. That is very important. And there has been, and that's the reason why it's an R1 tonight. So I wouldn't mind everything else falling underneath that. And the R2 agenda software can fall after your items that you want to put on the agenda tonight. But as far as R1, it's very critical that we get to that first thing tonight. And that's the reason why it was at the top of the list.
Sure.
Thank you. And I would like council to take that into consideration.
I'm fine with that.
Thank you. Just to make sure we can get as much support as possible, I'm fine with that as well for the motion. So to revisit that for council, it would be R1 would remain Colonial Corner. R2 would be the resolution to provide COVID relief for residents. R3 would be the Commonwealth Attorney. R4 would be the council recap. R5 would be COVID-19, the community cleanup, community support, and then R6 would be the agenda submission process. Is everyone on the same page? I should say for council, is anyone not on the same page?
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote, second. There's no objection. Roll call, please.
Counselor Parton.
This is a roll call to
Yes.
approve the vote.
Then when there was a roll call for the vote on the floor and seconded, I wait a couple seconds, there was no objection. So as far as I'm concerned, it's for the roll call for the agenda amendments itself.
Okay, please be clear on that because sometimes we are voting on the, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Is everyone on the same page? Or does anyone have any objections to moving forward with the call for the vote? Okay, proceed, please. And Madam Clerk, you can start from the beginning with the roll call so everyone's on the same page.
Counselor Parton.
Yes.
Mayor Gore.
Yes.
Counselor Denton.
No.
Counselor Pelham.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bennett.
No.
Counselor Randolph.
No.
Counselor Holloway.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, what is your tally for that motion?
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. We're going to proceed to our first, to the consent agenda for tonight. Is there a motion to amend or adopt the consent agenda?
I make a motion, we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
Motion's been made by Counselor Denton, seconded by Counselor Pelham. Is there any discussion? I see no hands raised for those council members in the software. For those following us by phone, does anyone have any questions or comments?
None. I'm good to go.
Okay, the only observation I see for this, it is not anything bad. For the public hearing announcement for the school board is on June 23rd. And I was asking for clarity on this to follow precedent, what we've done before. This public hearing is to receive the nominations of the applicants. And so for the public hearing, we usually print the names of those who have applied for the school board and include it in our packets. So we can still take nominations from the floor, but historically we kind of put the names up there for the public to respond to, since that's the purpose of the public hearing. Just observation for those watching, the 16th is our backup deadline to include items into the agenda. So check the public meeting announcement of Ask City Manager to make sure that's online for everyone. And that should have the means to be able to submit it. And to submit your application and your talent bank resume, you have to email cityclerk@hopewellva.gov. Okay. Roll call, please.
Counselor Parton.
Yes.
Mayor Gore.
Yes.
Counselor Denton.
Yes.
Counselor Pelham.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bennett.
Yes.
Counselor Randolph.
Yes.
Counselor Holloway.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. We're moving on to our public hearings that we have this evening. The first public hearing that we have is conditional use permit for 106 North Main Street. Mr. Altman, do you want to have staff do a presentation before we open up the public hearing?
Yes, ma'am. Just to provide some brief feedback. This item was discussed at a council work session back in February before COVID-19 hit us, and we've been delayed as a result of COVID, but tonight we have our public hearing to consider this matter on the request from WRM LLC, which is the owner of 106 North Main, to allow apartments in a mixed-use building on the first floor and apartments containing the average square footage below 900 on the second and subsequent floors. Ms. Griffin I believe, is with us this evening, and we have members of the Planning Commission. So at this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Griffin.
And Ms. Griffin, Dr. Griffin, I don't know if you're joining us with the software or not. I have to look for your name, but if you are, do you want to get controls of this so you can scroll through the packet to the sections I think you're on the software. Do you want to get control of this? And you can control the packet, or I can just move around as you need me to do. If you're trying to speak, your line is muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That would be great, Madam Mayor, if you could allow me to control the screen.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me find you.
Okay.
Actually,
I am actually at the 804-216-9203, but I'm also under Tavia Griffin for the screen.
okay.
And it says I'm the host now, so I will go ahead.
Yeah, I think IT made you the host because I didn't have the option. Perfect. There you go.
Okay. Wonderful. Again, good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Vice Mayor Bennett, and all members of City Council. Tonight, we have 3 public hearings, and as Mr. Altman has stated, these public hearings were discussed at your work session in February. The public hearing was scheduled for your March 17th meeting, which had to be canceled. So our people over the line now have patiently been waiting for us to be able to have this meeting via Zoom. All of the applicants online and now and able to answer questions if you have any. And we're going to start with our 106 North Main Street. This, if you remember, is a conditional use permit submitted by Mark Mueller at downtown. He is requesting a conditional use permit for 2 reasons. One, he would like to have apartments on the first floor of a building zone B1. And 2, he would like to have apartments on the second floor that have a square footage below 900 square feet. This slide here at the top gives you a picture of the current state of the building, and at the bottom is a rendering that was done by some architects. This is what the building would look like on the exterior. This slide here provides the floor elevations. You can see on the first floor, there would be 2 apartments in the back. There would be offices along Main Street, and the apartments would abut the rear. There is an alley in the back, and that's where there would actually be parking for these 2 apartments. On the second floor, there are 5 apartments, and the table here, this next slide shows you that the average square footage of the apartments on the first floor would be 809, and the average square footage on the second floor would be 753. And this also gives you a breakdown of each of the square footage of the apartments. Total, he is requesting 7 apartments. Again, the conditional use permit is to have first floor apartments, which are not allowed by right in the B1 district. And then the second part of that conditional use permit is to allow the square footage of the apartments on the second floor to be under 900. Second floor apartments are allowed by right in the B1 district. At the Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission recommended denial of the request to allow first floor apartments in the B1 district. However, the Planning Commission did recommend approval with the condition that the second floor apartments cannot be less than 740 square feet. If you have any questions for myself, I am finished with this part of the presentation. I am able and willing to answer them. You also have on this call Mr. Mark Mueller, who is the applicant. You also have our our Planning Commission Chair, Elliot Alades, and 2 other Planning Commission members, Ms. Farah Jenkins and Ms. Cassandra Vanderkite. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Griffin. Councilor Randolph has her hand raised.
Thank you. My question is for Mr. Alades. Mr. Alades, I understand based on what Ms. Griffin has said, the Planning Commission has approved and denied. I agree with the denial for first floor apartments. However, my understanding is that the normal square footage for second floor apartments is a minimum of 900. So we would have to be giving a conditional use permit for him to have 5 apartments all at under 800 square foot. Why did the Planning Commission allow for that instead of the 4 apartments, which would be could be a 900 plus square footage apartments?
Well, the group felt that a little compromise went a long way, and discussed this for quite a bit, from rejecting all of the apartments down to, you know, a better workable number. So quite simply, we worked with the applicant and said, you know, we really don't like the apartments on the first floor. We don't like the less than 900 upstairs, but we can make it work. And we compromised at the, what was that number again, Tavia? I think it's 740?
749
Yes,
is the average.
749. So it was really a compromise made that we felt that the applicant agreed, I believe. I'll let him speak for himself. But that was proposed at the last meeting that we had. And so the project could go forward. We could get some tax money on the in the city coffers and make a small compromise, which we felt.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alades.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilor Pelham?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Will the dollar amounts work for the businessman if he had only 1 less apartment upstairs?
Not really, ma'am. I think five was the number that would really make sense to have upstairs. And I think another reason, I think the idea, or at least for me anyway, of trying to put 900 square foot apartments is that these all need to be 1-bedroom apartments. Typically, in an urban area, you don't have many 2-bedroom or certainly not 3-bedroom apartments in a downtown area like that. And really, the 1-bedroom is the way to go. And 900 square feet is a small house. Really, it's a lot of square footage. So really the ideal. I understand the, council's point and feelings on the downstairs apartments. I get that. But I really do need 5 to make sense of the deal for the upstairs.
And can you tell me what is the footage for the bedroom itself?
I'm sorry?
The bedrooms, how big are they? 9 by 12, 10 by 12?
There should be some rough dimensions on the plans that are submitted. I don't have them in front of me actually, but they were not, I think they're a little bigger than that.
Well, I can't read this stuff. Does anyone?
I'm sorry. It doesn't look like there is any dimensions on there.
No, it doesn't have it doesn't have the actual 702. That's the whole apartment. That's not the actual bedroom. So is that the bedroom 702 square feet? That's the whole
apartment.
That's the whole apartment, isn't it? I see that page. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Right. Can't tell how big is the bedroom.
This is also just a preliminary plan. I don't know. I mean, if you look, maybe I was mistaken. I thought the average had to be over 740, not the individual. So even what is presented here would still have to be tweaked to get 740 minimum. I really thought the average had to be over 740, not the individual unit. But I mean, I think we can still make that work.
Just to provide clarity, currently, as has been provided, the second floor square footage average is 753. The Planning Commission recommended approval that the square footage would not go under an average of 740.
Yeah, I just wonder what size.
And the reason why they made that recommendation is because Mr. Mueller does plan to get historic tax credits. He has not submitted that application to the State Historic Resources Department. Therefore, the Planning Commission gave the 740, so he would not have to come back through the Planning Commission and City Council in case the SHPO office decides to decrease the square footage of the apartments on the second floor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions on council? I see no hands raised with the software. Anyone join us from via phone on council have any questions? Councilor Hallway?
No.
Councilor Parton?
No, no.
No, I'm good.
All right. We're going to.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Mrs. Griffin. I do have two other things that I must do in this virtual world. I do have to read in the minutes any comments that we received from adjacent property owners, and I do have one that needs to be read. Also, there was a question during the work session about parking, and at that time, Mr. Mueller was working on a parking agreement with John Randolph Foundation. That parking agreement is no longer in effect. However, we have received correspondence from George Dirador. He is an adjacent property owner located at 105 North 2nd Avenue, and I do need to read his letter into the minutes also, if you would allow.
Thank you so much. You can go ahead and read the statement and then address the other item that you're talking about. And then I do have to step away for one moment. So I just sent a message for Vice Mayor Bennett to open a public hearing when ready. So Director, if you can go ahead and read the statements, please.
Yes, this is from George Dirador, 106 North Main Street is his subject. Dear Mrs. Griffin, City Council and the Planning Commission, this email is to confirm that I have agreed to furnish Mr. Mueller with the 8 to 10 needed parking spaces for my parking lot located at 105 North 2nd Avenue for his apartments located at 106 North Main Street. Any questions can be addressed to me through email or by phone. Thank you, Mr. George Dirador. And Vice Mayor, I think you should now open the public hearing, and that way I can read into the minutes the adjacent property owner letters that the city received.
Okay, so you have the letters. I'm going to ask Ms. Brown, the clerk, is there anything that to open up the meeting, if she can go ahead and read the statement for the public hearing?
Madam Vice Mayor.
Yes.
I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can see my hand or not, but I have it raised.
I see it, yes, ma'am.
Okay. It is just about 8:30 and I would like to extend this meeting until 9:30.
Okay. I guess we're gonna ask.
I make a motion to extend it to 9:30.
Okay, because it is a 3-hour meeting,
Yeah.
starting at 5:30. And I guess we'll ask a point of information from the city attorney that we did start our meeting at 5:30. Therefore, per our council rules, it does go until 8:30. So as a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And Madam Clerk, would you please do a roll call?
Counselor Parton,
Yes.
Mayor Gore,
Yes, I'm stepping back away.
Counselor Denton,
Yes.
Counselor Pelham,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph,
Yes.
Counselor Holloway.
Yes.
Okay, I just, motion passes. Mayor Gore, did you step, oh, are you back? Or did anyone hear?
She said she was stepping away again.
Oh, she stepped away again. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, Madam Clerk, if you would please open up the public hearing, read the statement, and I'll go ahead and open.
I did not receive any statements for this public hearing. Vice Mayor Bennett, thank you.
All right. Public hearing is open, and I would like to go ahead and turn that over to Director Griffin to read her statements.
Yes, thank you. This statement was received from Mr. James Vergara on Monday, June the 8th. Members of council, this request for 2 conditional use permits was explored and discussed thoroughly by the Planning Commission Committee. The 3 adjacent properties, 100, 102, and 104 North Main Street, appear at all the hearings. While we do not fully agree with the decision made by the Planning Commission, we respected it as a more reasonable than the actual request. No factual or logical reason was given to make an exception to approve apartments on the first floor when no one else is permitted to do so under the current zoning ordinance. It should be noted that the only access to the ground floor apartments would be from the alley, which is problematic. There is no basis to give special status to this property owner. It cannot be simply because he wants it. He knew what the zoning parameters were when he purchased the property. If a waiver is that simple, then everyone would be entitled to one for no valid reason. So to the request to put apartments on the second floor below the minimum 900 square feet is unwise. It does not say how much less than 900 they will be. 800, 700, 600, how small? The city had a reason for requiring 900 square feet, and everyone else conforms to that. No reason is given for approving less than 900 except he wants it. If he can get it for no reason, then everyone should be able to get it, and your zoning requirement is worthless. Also, his plans provide only one exit from the second floor apartments, except at earlier hearings, he said they had a window exit. Apparently, it is sufficient safety for tenants to jump from the second floor window. Quite simply, we do not think there is any basis for conditional use. We appreciate your consideration. Signed, Jim Vergara, Vergara and Associates at 100 Main Street Plaza, Hopewell, Virginia, 23860. Thank you, and that is the only letter that we received regarding this application.
Okay. I just want to confirm again, Director Griffin, that's the only one we have for public hearing 1, conditional use permit for 106 North Main?
It is. It's one letter, but it is signed, and it's from 3 property owners. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And nothing else. We're going to go ahead and close that public hearing. All right. We're going to open public hearing 2. Accessory structure use.
No.
What? Excuse me, sorry.
You need to see if there's a motion to approve or deny this particular request.
Correct. I want to make a motion that we deny the first floor apartments at this particular location, which is, bear with me. Oh God.
106 North.
107. Is it 107 or 106?
106.
106. Maine.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion made by Councilor Randolph and seconded by Councilor Parton. And Madam Clerk, if you would please do a roll call.
Discussion.
Is there a discussion? No discussion. I have one hand up. It'll be Miss Pelham.
Yeah, I forget what I was gonna. Lord have mercy. The question is, can you make a motion in the negative? Well, I guess that's the first point of order. Madam Attorney, you can answer that, and then I'll make my other comment.
You have a point of order, or you want a point of information, you want to ask the city attorney?
Yeah, whatever is appropriate. Can you make a
And
motion in the negative?
You can go ahead and ask the city attorney. Madam City Attorney?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Counselor,
The appropriate motion.
No, a motion in the negative is not proper.
So Ms. Randolph needs to rephrase that somehow.
Okay. Madam City Attorney, would you like to give me the motion properly worded then?
I need to hear what you're trying to achieve, ma'am.
To deny the first floor apartments.
Well, what you would do is simply not put forward a motion to approve it. That would be the appropriate response, as to say to deny it.
To not approve?
Well, to not have a motion at all to approve. So the motion to approve would be the affirmative motion. And
Okay, then
anything
I
other,
rescind my motion.
Okay, if you will, if you would withdraw your motion, I will make a motion to approve the request as is, and then you can vote against it.
That's correct. If you want to have a motion on the record, that would be the way to do it.
I've rescinded. If Mr. Parton and his second will agree, that's fine by me.
That's fine.
All right, so the motion on the floor is to approve the package presented by the Planning Commission as is.
Is there a second? I will second that, Ms. Councilor Pelham's motion. Madam Clerk, can you do a roll call, please?
Can we hear exactly what that motion is?
Excuse me. Can you repeat the motion? The motion is to approve the request for the conditional use permit for 106 North Main Street as is.
As presented by
As president, yes.
As presented, excuse me.
By the Planning Commission. I would like that in my motion, please.
Could you say as approved by the Planning Commission or recommended?
Planning Commission, yes, sir. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, did you, were you able to record that?
Yes, I have approved the conditional use permit as approved by the Planning Commission.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And it was seconded by me.
Yes.
And now it's on the floor for discussion. I don't see any hands, so if, Madam Clerk, if you do a roll call.
Councilor Parton?
No.
Mayor Gore? Has she returned? Okay. Councilor Denton?
No.
Councilor Pelham?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bennett?
No.
Councilor Randolph?
No.
Councilor Holloway?
Yes.
So, Vice Mayor Bennett, members of council, your second public hearing this evening is a conditional
Well, she'll announce the whether the motion passed or failed and by what number.
The motion failed 2-4, Councilor Pelham.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Mr. Altman?
Yes, ma'am.
Before you move on, may I ask Vice Mayor Bennett, so this was to deny the to deny the request based on what the Planning Commission recommended. Is there another motion that someone wants to make in regards to this application, or was that the final motion?
That's the final motion, if I may be heard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, I'm back. I'm sorry. City Manager knows I talked to him this evening. We discovered I have a massive water line break underneath my house this evening. So I had to step away to check on what was going on. So I do apologize about that. I still want to be present for this meeting. I came in on the tail end of that discussion. So I assume that item has been addressed and taken care of per the city attorney's comments. We're moving on to the next special, the public hearing, correct, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Director Griffin, can you share your screen, please, to show public hearing number 2? And thank you, Vice Mayor Bennett, for your assistance. And Madam Clerk, can you have me back on the record now at 8:30?
8:39, ma'am.
8:39, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. The city has received a conditional use permit request from Ann Hyatt. Ms. Hyatt is the owner of 804 Kenwood Avenue. She is the owner also of Hyatt Properties, LLC. This particular property is in District Ward 7. She is requesting to allow the detached garage located in the rear of the property to be used as an accessory apartment. This is allowed by conditional use permit in their R2 district. Just to give you some background, an accessory apartment is permitted if the owner/occupant applies for the conditional use permit and meets the following criteria. First, the applicant must certify that such apartment will be occupied by a related family member, 55 years of age or older, or handicapped person. B, the applicant must acknowledge that upon vacation by such family member, the building may no longer be used as an apartment unless another family member meets the required criteria, and in no case shall it be used as a rental unit. And C, the applicant must demonstrate that sufficient off-street parking will be provided. Ms. Hyatt is on the line tonight, and I'm sure she's able to answer any questions, but I do want to just give you an idea of where this particular property is. Again, you did have this particular application at your work session back in February, but just to orient you again, this is located off of Oakland Boulevard, and it's this area shown in the aqua blue. The larger picture is a picture of the main structure, and the picture in the black and white picture shows the accessory apartment that she would like to have someone live in. This again provides you the criteria in order to approve this application. The Planning Commission at their meeting recommended denial of the request. You should know that at that time, the applicant could not certify the accessory apartment would be rented by a family member 55 years of age or older or disabled. If you recall at the work session, she was able to provide certification of an accessory apartment was going to be rented by the occupant's mother, and that certification was supplied that a family member, if they vacated the apartment, it would not be rented by anyone except another family member that meets the criteria. In your packet, she has provided a copy of the lease. She's also provided you a copy of both certifications and a check from the person who wants to occupy the main structure, and that is the deposit check for the apartment. If you have any questions, I am willing to answer them. And again, Ms. Hyatt is on the line also. I will say I did not get any letters, emails, or voicemails for this particular public hearing.
Thank you so much, Director Griffin. Councilor Pelham and then Councilor Randolph.
I'm sorry, what? Why did the planning commission deny it again? I can't remember.
Yes, at the time of the planning commission meeting, the applicant did not provide any certifications. That was not provided until the work session, the city council's work session. So they denied it because she did not meet the criteria outlined in the zoning ordinance.
Thank you.
Ms. Griffin, she has provided and has met the family member qualification. If I'm not mistaken, from memory serves me correct from our work session. So she is going to meet the criteria that the city sets forth for this, correct?
Yes, she has a certification that should be included in your packet from the person that's going to occupy the main structure. Her mother will be staying in the accessory apartment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I do not see any other hands raised at this moment. The counselors joining us via phone. If you have something to share, please feel free. If not, I'll take silence as you're fine. Okay. Director Griffin, are you fine with me opening the public hearing this time?
Yes, you should open the public hearing. Yes, ma'am. I will say you would open it and just close it because we did not receive any correspondence to speak to the public hearing.
Okay, I'm opening the public hearing to 8:45. I do want to double check for the record with the clerk to see if she received anything.
Ms. Gore, Mayor Gore, you keep fading in and out. We can barely hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me clearly now?
A little better, yes, ma'am.
Public hearing is open, is 8:45. Checking with the clerk as well to see if she has received any feedback, and if not, I will close it.
I have not received any comments for this public hearing, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Public hearing is now closed. Time is 8:45. Is there a motion from council?
I'd like to make a motion that council approve this this particular request from
Director Griffin, can you put the language on the screen for council to view for making a motion, please?
Yeah, I apologize. There you go.
For
Council Randolph.
it's for the Hyatt Properties LLC and property located at that's what I'm looking for.
Kenwood Drive Avenue. 804 Kenwood Avenue.
Thank you. 804 Kenwood Avenue.
And Director Griffin, we still can't see your screen. I heard you ask. No, we can't see it.
Okay, sorry.
If you don't mind, out in the packet, it's a request submitted by Hyatt Properties, owner of 804 Kenwood Avenue, to allow a detached garage located at the rear of the property to be used in an accessory apartment in the R2 residential medium density district.
Yep, what he said.
Is there a second?
That meets the
Second.
criteria. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Parton. Motion moved by Councilor Randolph, seconded by Councilor Parton. It's before council. Any discussion? Vice Mayor Bennett.
Yes, I have a question. This would be a rental property. Am I correct? I think we did talk about this before. And even though we're doing, did I hear somebody answer me? Did someone say something?
I was going to answer you, but I didn't want to speak over you because I thought you were going to ask an additional question.
Please do, go ahead.
Yes, this is rental property. Ms. Hyatt owns the property. She would be renting out the main structure and the person renting the main structure, their mother would be staying in the accessory structure.
So that is my concern with the rental property, as far as, tenants who actually will be able to maintain that. How do you check on the, even though we can see everything looks good on paper, we already have that issue where, how are we supposed to measure that? Do we check? We don't have those checks and balances. I'm very concerned, especially with this, and I've talked about my concerns before. As far as, even if it's a detached area and for garages. With that being said, I really don't understand the concept of, having an elderly person being in the area. So, it's just a lot of, who's to say, and then it's when they move, if they move out, the tenants move out, what will happen then? So, and then they're going to have to come back, or there's no way to track if this is going to be something safe. So I'm just going to sit here and say, I am not going to vote yes to this. And my reason being is what I've already presented, even here, and when we did have the work session prior to. So I just want to make that known. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I couldn't hear all of what you said, but I got the gist of what you were saying. I will add that the zoning ordinance requires this permit to be issued for a period of 1 year, and it must be renewed annually. And I think that is for the very reason that you're speaking of. So if this permit was approved, it would have to be renewed annually, and it would be reviewed on a yearly basis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Counselor Denton and then Counselor Randolph.
I think Ms. Griffin just answered it. The check and balance would be once a year. They would have to certify that the mother or some relative was still living in that apartment. Am I correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
Thank you.
And let me just clarify, Ms. Griffin, we're not giving any kind of a permit or not for the main rental dwelling. This is just for the accessory, which is contingent upon the documentation in our code that says that it has to be a relative that lives there. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so it's just for the accessory property.
It is just for the accessory
We are
property.
going to say yes in this particular instance because they have proven to you that the mother is going to live there and that you will be asking for this certification again next year. And if they do not have the same people living in the main structure, then this is a moot point and it will not be allowed, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Bennett.
I just wanted to make sure it said, but it had to be an elderly? Did we talk about it?
Bennett, your line is going in and out. Can you start over, please?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. Were the terms, as I remember, it was an elderly, the mother was elderly, and that was the terms of the
mother is over 55.
That's what it was. Okay, and then it has to be renewed yearly. So that was That was just what brought this time. That wasn't at the last work session. Unless I must have missed that part of it being renewed yearly or annually.
I think it was mentioned briefly.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I didn't see that part, but thank you. That helps. Thank you.
Okay, those counselors joining us by phone, do you have anything to question or ask? And if not, I will take silence as if you're fine.
I'm good. I'm okay, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Director Griffin, I don't have any other hands raised. The only question I have is, can you just elaborate, because you keep mentioning 55? Can you share what you're referring to so that the public understands a little bit more why that is significant and being mentioned?
Yes, so the zoning ordinance has specific criteria that allow for an accessory garage apartment to be used. And the first criteria is the applicant must certify that such apartment will be occupied by a related family member 55 years of age or older, or someone that meets the 55 years of age that is handicapped. A family member, excuse me, that is handicapped. So it's either a family member that's 55 years of age or older, or a family member that is handicapped. Those are the only two, that is the only person that is able to occupy an accessory apartment. The purpose of that is that, lots are smaller. There's not several cars occupying a lot, and a garage apartment would be small. And so it's not for larger families, but for an individual family member who meets the age criteria or the disability criteria.
Thank you. Okay, I see Councilor Killam and Vice Mayor Bennett, but I think Vice Mayor Bennett had her hand raised first.
And I just had one more question for the accessory dwelling. It's only available for one occupant, am I correct?
Yes, it says by a related family member, 55 years of age, or family member that is handicapped. So yes.
But only one occupant can live in that dwelling?
Yes, ma'am, as the ordinance reads.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Pong.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get the mute thing. Anyway, it looks like there's a driveway going back to the apartment. The ordinance says something about on-street parking.
Actually, the ordinance says the applicant must demonstrate that sufficient off-street parking will be provided. I will say in this instance, off-street parking is talking about parking that is not on the street. And so therefore they are providing that. She has ample space for the person that has the vehicle for the accessory apartment and a vehicle for the main structure on the lot.
Pathway to that apartment doesn't constitute the yard. Because we also have an ordinance that I don't agree with about people parking in the yard. I mean, because there's some
they wouldn't have to park in the yard. The picture, and I do have the picture up now. So on the right of the brick house, there is parking for the main structure, and then to the left there is parking for the accessory structure. So there is ample parking.
I was saying that is not considered the yard, that pathway.
No, that is a gravel area.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Director, before I do that, Director Griffin, do you have anything on record you want to say?
No.
Haven't.
Yeah,
I think you did the public hearing, Madam Mayor. You opened and you closed it already.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. We're on the roll call part. Thank you. I'm sorry. Is there a motion for this one?
I think
There was already a motion made by Counselor Randolph and seconded by Counselor Parton.
That's correct. Actually, it was made by the city manager for me.
Okay, thank you. I was a little confused about, I know we were in discussion, but I got kind of sidetracked on who was the actual person who did it, so thank you for that. Can we just restate the motion for everyone on the floor and then you can proceed roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. The motion on the floor is for council to approve the request submitted by Hyatt Properties LLC, owner of 804 Kenwood Avenue, to allow the detached garage located to the rear of the property to be used as an accessory apartment in the residential medium density district R2.
Perfect.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Parton,
No.
Mayor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Denton,
yes.
Counselor Pelham,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Counselor Randolph,
Yes.
Counselor Holloway.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. That was the last public hearing, correct?
No, one more.
We have one more because I can't see the packet anymore, so I'm just going off of what I thought I saw. So this is the one with Oakland, I believe? Okay, there you go. Thank you. Director Griffin?
Did we lose her?
No, she's there. She just has to unmute herself when she's ready. I think she's putting it on the screen. Or Director Griffin, if you're talking, you're muted.
Sorry, I was talking. Thank you very much. I apologize. I'll go back. The city has received a request to modify the development standards, Article 18, the parking requirements for property located at 3616 Oakland Boulevard. The owner is requesting a modification of the development standards that require a parking area that will have more than 5 parking spaces to be paved using a material that will not bleed onto the streets. Normally, that would be asphalt. The property owner would like to have parking for more than 5 vehicles on a gravel surface. This is Executive Motors located at 3616 Oakland Boulevard. You can see cars parked on a asphalt surface now. He is requesting to be able to use gravel, and he's actually using gravel at this time, to be able to park cars in the bottom right area, more than 5 cars. And I will go off of this screen. I want to bring your attention to, the information located in Article 18. This is a development standard, Section E, the off-street parking requirements. This is also located in your packet, but surface parking is required. Off-street parking areas for 5 or more cars or loading or service areas shall be graded and surfaced with a stable material that will not track onto pavement, such as asphalt, concrete, or an acceptable alternate. You are allowed to have gravel if you're going to park less than 5 cars on a pavement. And so he wants to be able to have more cars there. He is a retail car dealership, and he would like to have cars parked so that people, of course, can come by and look at the cars so he can sell them. Mr. Rizik is on the line, and he's able to answer any questions that you have. The Planning Commission did approve this request with conditions, and the conditions are as follows. No more than 40 cars can be parked for the entire business, to include 3610 and 3616 Oakland Boulevard. Paving must be complete within 2 years or on February 1st, 2022. Now that date would change, and that was based on, that was actually based on the Planning Commission. So I think it would be only fair to go out. I think we've lost 4 months. So I think it would be only be fair if you're going to approve it that it's actually a entire 2-year period. Also, if 3616 Oakland Boulevard is not paved by that 2-year time frame, the operation can only have 18 cars in total, and the city engineer will review and approve the traffic circulation plan for the business. I am able to answer any questions you may have. This is the first time that the Planning Commission has reviewed a modification for development standards. This is the first actual modification that has come up. Since then, we've received 2 more. Each one is different, but I will say that, as you know, we get a lot of people, a lot of businesses in the city, and a lot of requests to park more than 5 cars. Any decision that's made, sets a precedent for other decisions. So the Planning Commission is here if you would like to answer any questions. I know at the work session, there was a question about why they made this decision. And again, you have the chairman, Mr. Latti's on the phone, Sarah Jenkins and Cassandra Vanderkuyf to answer any questions from council. Thank you so much. And also, we did not receive any correspondence for the city council meeting regarding a public hearing, but you still should open and close a public hearing.
Thank you, Director Griffey. And please keep this screen up only because council can be able to better formulate some questions regarding some of these recommendations. If people are using their video like Mr. Alati's, we can still see you on our screen, but we have this as the main visual up for everyone that's watching the meeting remotely. Is there any questions?
Okay, I will keep it up. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Council, is there any questions before we open up the public hearing? Vice Mayor Bennett?
Yes, Madam Mayor, if I could recuse myself for personal conflict, I did fill out the conflict of interest form, and I'll email it to the clerk, and recuse myself from this conversation and also voting on this subject. I did that when we also had the work session for this item as well, if you're okay with that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Bennett. You're also asking to be excused for this moment, correct? So we can have it virtually for the record? Okay.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So Vice Mayor has filled out her conflict of interest. And so Madam Clerk, can you please note that she's been approved to be excused for the meeting at this time? And it is now 9:07. And when she comes back on after the vote, we'll just annotate it in the record for her.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Okay, is there any other questions? Okay, for those joining us by phone, if you don't say anything, I'll take it as right now you don't have any questions.
I'm good.
Okay, so public hearing is now open. The time is 9:07. Madam Clerk, did you receive anything as well for this item?
I did not receive anything for this public hearing, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Time is 9:08. The public hearing has been closed. Is there a motion of council? Councilor Pelham? If you're speaking, your line is muted.
make the motion that the plan that is presented be approved. Can you hear me?
No, Councilman, can you repeat yourself, please?
I recommend that the plan that is permitted on the be approved.
You move that the plan be approved as submitted or with the planning commission's recommendations for clarity?
Planning commission is on the screen.
Motion, move the application with the planning commission's recommendations of conditions.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Parton. Is that motion clear for everyone?
That was moved to approve. Repeat that, Counselor, because I could not hear her.
I just said to approve the app. Go ahead, Councilor.
Approve to the application with the conditions set by the planning commission.
Approve the applications to include the approval conditions set by the planning commission. Do you have that, Madam Clerk?
I've got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion? Council Parton second that's before council. Council Parton, you have your hand raised. Okay, so there's no questions. I do have a question, Director Griffin. It might be for a planning commission member about who voted in opposition. It says in our packet, I had to pull it up so I could look at it. It voted 3-1. What was the reason for the break from having unanimous consent on this?
Mr. Chairman Elades, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, but can you remind me who the dissenting vote was? I think I know, but I'm not sure. I believe the. Are you looking?
Was it Councilor Vanderkite? Excuse me, Commissioner Vanderkite?
Well, she's on the phone. Can she unmute herself? I believe so. My understanding was, or my recollection.
Ability to unmute herself if she wants to, and no one's muted by the host right now.
Okay. So I don't know if she's still here, or let me look.
I'm sure it was Cassandra, Commissioner Vanderkite.
Okay, so to answer your question, and if she jumps in, that's fine. To the best of my knowledge, it was a big debate over giving any extra time or not. And in this case, the majority thought 2 extra years was good. And the dissenting vote did not like that, if I recall correctly. And then it might have been Commissioner Vanderkite. I can't recall. I'd have to get my minutes. But I do remember most of the conversation was about how long to give them. If you can't do it now, which is what we want, how long do you need? And we went from 1 year to 2 years to compromise to 2.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't on the terms itself, though, besides the year time frame. Okay. Councilor Pelham? If you're speaking, please unmute yourself.
Was the vote, you say 3-1 or 4-1?
3-1.
So somebody was absent.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. But thank you for giving the, I think he's a young entrepreneur. Anytime people that come younger too, thanks for the consideration to keep them in business longer, especially now with the COVID and everything. So thank you all for that.
Councilor Denny?
Okay, I just would like to make that we put that date, that it must be completed by.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a date in there.
Right.
Are we staying with February the 1st? Or are we going to like June the 1st?
I think it should be 2 years from the, if council decides to approve, it should be 2 years from the approval date.
I believe Councilor Pelham made the motion. It was seconded by Councilor Parton. Are you fine with amending your motion to include 2
Yes.
years from the approval date?
I would take that friendly
That's
amendment.
fine.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, are you clear on that for the motion to insert 2 years from the approval date?
Yes.
Okay, is everyone clear on the motion?
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Parton,
Yes.
Mayor Gore,
Yes.
Counselor Denton,
Yes.
Counselor Pelham, Vice Mayor Bennett, Counselor Randolph,
No.
Counselor Holloway.
Yes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, what's your tally for that?
4-1.
Okay. Thank you very much to our guests that joined us this evening. I believe that was the last public hearing for this meeting, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that was the last one.
Thank you. And IT, can you please pass back controls so I can put the agenda packet on the screen? Thank you. Moving on to unfinished business. This was UB1 IT policies. Hopefully this will be brief so we can touch on the other items that we had. The meeting ended while we were discussing this matter. I placed this on the agenda due to discussions, directives council gave in one closed session meeting. IT worked on the policies to address some of the items and concerns of council. The recommendation at the time was for council to adopt the citywide policy in regards to some of the items that are in here. That is why this is presented as a citywide policy and given to council for consideration. I do not remember the tally of where we were on this item when the meeting cut off, but I do remember what the last question was, and it was a legal question in regards to the role of the city manager. I don't know if we need to pick back up there, but hopefully council has had more time to review this policy and see that it was supported by the city manager and signed. So hopefully council can just go ahead and approve this as well and support it to make it a citywide policy in regards to technology guidelines and also how our equipment is managed at the local level. And I believe there was a motion on the floor already. Madam Clerk, can you clarify that, please? Because we were in discussion. Madam Clerk, are you there?
Muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mayor Gore, can you repeat that?
Do you have in your record the motion that was on the floor. I know it was to approve it, but I just want to clarify for the record so that everyone is on the same page about where we left off in terms of the motion that we were.
Yes, ma'am. The last motion, the motion that was on the floor was made by Vice Mayor Bennett, seconded by Councilor Parton, to give the city manager full authority to adopt, amend, or change the policy as needed.
Thank you. What was the original motion that was on the floor?
I believe that was the original motion. That's the only motion I have for that item.
Can we call for the vote?
No, Councilor Denton was actually speaking. I remember she was talking about the city manager being the CEO of the city, and then she asked the city attorney, who was Mr. Gore at the time, a legal question. The meeting cut out when I last went back and watched it. But I thought we had a motion on the floor by Councilor Pelham to adopt it, and then there was a request to amend the motion.
No,
But-
it was call for a vote.
Okay.
I had said I agree with the friendly amendment to the motion, right?
Yeah, right. You had a motion on the floor. It was not just that one motion, because that's what prompted the discussion. So, all right, so that's the motion that we have on the floor for discussion. And
Which, I'm sorry, which one is that?
the one that Ms. Brown just read out loud to allow the city manager to control, and I'll ask her to read again. Madam Clerk, do you have a tally of who spoke during that time?
Yes, ma'am. I have, give me 1 second. I have Counselor Randolph speaking once, Counselor Denton speaking once, and Counselor Pelham.
Vice Mayor Bennett spoke because she's the one who made the friendly amendment, and she shared her thoughts. And I remember Councilor Randolph asking her questions regarding her to get clarity about what she meant in terms of the equipment. So, you know,
I think what it was, Madam Mayor, I just called for, I just made the motion. I didn't speak. I did make the motion, but I didn't discuss it. After I made the motion, there was a discussion on the floor.
So I'll just have Randolph, Denton, Pelham, and everybody else hasn't spoken on the item. So that is where we are. Randolph, Denton, Pelham speaking once, everyone else speaking 0 times. And the motion on the floor is what the clerk just mentioned in regards to allowing the city manager to control and change the policy. And of course, we'll have her read it again right before a vote for everyone's clarity as well. Mr. Altman has his hand raised.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Councilor Denton. Okay.
Yes, I'm not sure what we're questioning. I think this is part of our charter, is that the city manager has the responsibility for this. If I'm, I guess a point of information to our city attorney, do you see it in our charter who has the, I mean, I don't know why we're even discussing this, to be perfectly honest.
This is where we left off in the conversation, and you were asking that question.
I think I was asking at that point.
Yes, yes. So that's, I was recapping where we were. So that's where we were. And so you were asked the state attorney. So I guess we could pick back up there. I was just recapping. So Ms. Robinson, can you please address Councilor Denton's question regarding the charter and the city manager's authority to do this?
Okay, is that the exact question that was presented at the last meeting? I just want to make sure I understand exactly what the question was before I attempt to answer it.
Yes, I think the charter addresses this. I don't have the charter with me right at the moment, but I think it addresses, and I just am asking if you can concur with me on that.
Well, the charter does not specifically address the IT policy. So can you tell me how it was framed so I can answer the question? Because as you know, the charter apportions the power of the city between both the city council and the city manager and other positions within city government. So understanding,
It gives the, I don't have my last,
I have my charter here. I simply need to ask,
yeah,
what was the specific question as to what fell within the
I think
powers of the
it's under
city
the
manager?
duties of the city manager.
Okay.
Maybe I best ask the city manager, am I in the right area? Are you familiar with this at all?
I have the charter and I can read off the duties, but the duties are broadly written. So the duties are not powers, they are duties. That's what the charter states. So I'm trying to find out exactly what the question was before I opine as to whether or not that's what the charter says relative to the power to do something.
Counselor Denton, can you please confirm if I'm correct? If you recall, the conversation went from why did it need to be a city policy versus a policy the city manager can do? And I believe your comments were saying that he could do that with what was in the charter. I think that's where it stemmed from, the conversation as to why it needed to be a city policy versus something Mr. Almond could do outright.
Okay, so
Let me ask the
is
city manager, what is his understanding of this? And he's there with us?
If that's the question, I can answer that question if that is exactly how it was presented.
Well,
and if it requests, I can read you the charter word for word and the sections that I'm relying on. But I just wanted to make sure I understood what the question was, because there has been an extension of certain sections where it should not have gone, and then there's a narrow reading where that might not be supported as well.
Or 3916, does that, I somehow got that jotted down. I don't know why.
3916 goes to that taxing authority under the Virginia State Code relative to the local governing body extending the due date for the taxes.
Okay,
so in the context of that previous meeting, that's what that is assigned to.
Okay.
But the charter talks about the duties of the city manager, and it says the manager shall be the chief executive officer of the city and shall be responsible to the council for the proper administration of city government. He shall be appointed by the council for an indefinite term and shall be chosen solely on the basis of his executive and administrative qualifications. Then it talks about the compensation. Below that in section 2, it deals with the power of that office to appoint and remove, subject to the provisions of the charter, and except as herein provided, the heads of all department and other officers, except executive officers and employees of the city. He shall have the power to remove any officer and employee appointed by him for good cause and pending final action. He may suspend any such officer or employee from the duty, from his or her duty, for not more than 60 days. There's in section 3, a general provision to report to the council. In the event of such appointment, suspensions, or removal, the city manager shall report the same to the council at the next meeting thereof. And it shall be the duty of the city manager to keep all meetings of the council with the right to speak, attend all meetings of the council with the right to speak, but not to vote, keep the council advised of the financial conditions and the future needs of the city in all matters pertaining to its proper administration, and make such recommendations as to him may seem desirable. He under C, prepare and submit the annual budget to council and be responsible for its administration after it is adopted, and perform other duties as may be prescribed by this charter or to be required of him in accordance therewith. So that's the section on the city manager in its entirety. The charter says under the council, all powers of the city are vested and exercised by the city council. Now, relative to the policy, how that would break out between those very broad powers and those duties is that once approved, by the city council can delegate its authority to make further revisions to that policy to the city manager. But the manager does not have the power as presently stated under the council to control that process from the very beginning. The powers of the city are very broad, and most of them can be delegated out. Some of them cannot be delegated out and must always be exercised by the governing body. But if council passes this motion that I've heard tonight, that would properly vest the city manager with the power to make all the changes and amendments to this policy from here on out.
Okay. Well, I think since the IT department comes under the city manager, then I think that's what we should certainly give him that power.
Sure. And once delegated, he could then delegate the power himself. So you're absolutely correct. Those powers are not so restrained that they cannot be delegated to other people within city government.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Attorney, for a point of information, do we extend the meeting to 9:30 or do we extend it indefinitely?
No.
I didn't hear the motion to extend, so I'm sorry, I can't opine on that.
Madam Clerk, will you read that? Can you clarify?
Yes, the motion.
9:30.
Yes, that was made by Counselor Denton, seconded by Counselor Parton to extend the meeting to 9:30.
Okay, then it expires at 9:30.
Same time is 9:30, Madam Attorney. I'll have to reach out to you to figure out how we can get this ordinance passed for the COVID-19 relief. It's 9:30 now. The meeting has ended, if I'm correct. Thank you very much.